Well, since this month includes both Valentine's Day and Family Day, it's appropriate to stay in touch today with the Executive Director of the Institute of Marriage and Family Canada. David Quist joins us. Welcome, David.
Good to be with you, Ron.
For those who maybe are not familiar with the Institute of Marriage and Family Canada, what's it all about?
Sure. Well, the Institute of Marriage and Family is a research policy think tank, we call it. It's a place that we look and see what's best for families. We're part of Focus on the Family Canada, and we interact with what we call the decision makers, those people that are making decisions that impact and affect our lives, as well as the media people, because they carry the story out to all of our listeners.
All right. Well, you deal with a lot of issues and topics and research and so on. What would you say is maybe the number one concern of families today here in Canada?
Research that we did a few years ago indicated that it won't be a surprise that financial issues are the number one concern to families today. We just heard earlier from one of your guests about the impact of families and how money impacts their lives, impacts their families' lives. And so that's so true. We see it whether it's a family just starting out, whether it's a couple is looking for retirement, or anywhere in between, financial implications all along the way. And so that's one of the number one issues that impacts families today.
So people really need to take steps.
Absolutely.
Not only realize there's a problem, but take steps like get some great materials for helping that.
Right.
Other issues that are of concern that you're dealing with lately?
One of the other concerns that we're dealing with is the devaluing of marriage itself. We're often seeing governments all across the country looking at how can they make family breakup easier? How can they make divorce easier? Changing some of the laws and so on. We've actually gone on record a number of times saying to various different government officials and elected officials saying, if you spend as much time making marriages better, making marriages stronger, we'd have far fewer divorces to actually worry about. There are actually very few divorces that really need to take place. Less than 10% of divorces are actually what we call high-risk divorces, cases where there's abuse or alcohol abuse or sexual abuse or emotional, physical abuse and things like that. The other part of that is that people that look for happiness, they say, well, I'm not happy in this relationship, and so we're gonna get divorced. 5 years later, when we ask them, did you find happiness? Over 80% of them say, didn't find happiness. And so divorce is not a way to find happiness. Rather, retrenching, making your marriage work through counseling, through changes in financial pressures, looking at how your values are, those can make your marriage stronger and better.
And the somewhat related, there seems to be a rise in the cohabitation in Canada.
An enormous thing. When we look across the country, cohabitation rates are around 17%. When we look in the province of Quebec, it's actually double that, about 35% of all relationships are in a cohabiting relationship. Unfortunately, people rate cohabitation to be the same as marriage. They're not even close to being the same thing. Cohabitation doesn't have the same benefits as marriage. Marriage will have a better lifestyle for your husband and wife and children. Children do better in school, they do better in health-wise. You'll earn more money, you'll be healthier physically. All the attributes are on the marriage side. Cohabitation doesn't have those benefits at all. The scary part is that when we have usually a single mom that has a cohabiting partner, the male, that is more often where child abuse takes place. Child abuse rates for those types of relationships are astronomically higher than where there's a mom and a dad and their biological children.
Now, all of what you're saying, we're going through these things very quickly, but there's a lot of research behind them. And one of the pieces of research is just that the actual cost involved in family breakup that we probably don't understand. Right.
There's an enormous number of programs that are related by provincial governments and federal governments and even municipal governments at different times as well. We did a study just a couple of years ago that the private choices, public costs was the title of the research, meaning if I make a private choice of breaking up my family, divorcing my wife, there are public costs that actually go with that. There are costs in education, there are costs in court costs, lawyers' fees, but all the support programs that actually go into that as well. We actually calculated that the cost to the taxpayer of all Canadians is about $7 billion a year. We know that there's additional costs beyond that that are hard to calculate, but the hard costs that we can calculate are about $7 billion a year.
And not to mention all the emotional costs
Absolutely.
and the challenges there. Well, David, for those who maybe want to dig in a little deeper and even know how to pray properly. Do you have a website that people can go to?
Absolutely. Our website is imfcanada.org, Institute of Marriage and Family Canada.org, and they'll find this research and other research and all related to that. And we try to make it easy and clickable and quick little punchy points that people can read and follow on.
All right. Well, David, thank you for sharing these thoughts with us, and God bless you in your ongoing work there and the research. It's so important that we stay on top of what's happening, and we know how to pray as well. So I encourage those of you watching, pray hard for our families here in Canada. All right. Thanks, David. God bless. Stay in touch.
Now there are even more ways to join the 100 Huntley Street online community. We'd love to hear from you, so stay in touch with us.